Welcome to Audiobook Connection, the weekly podcast that pulls back the curtain on the audiobook world. I'm your host, Becky Parker-Geist, and we're here to help authors, narrators, and listeners connect more deeply with the stories they love. Let's dive in. Hi, I'm Becky Parker-Geist. I'm the host of the Audiobook Connection podcast, Behind the Scenes with the Creative Teens, and co-host of the podcast Indie Authors Tell All. I'm also president of Bay Area Independent Publishers Association and the CEO and founder of Pro Audio Voices and Amplify Audiobooks, providing audiobook and podcast production, distribution, and marketing. And I'm so excited today because I get to talk with Kirk Boyd, Dr. John Kirk Boyd, who is the author of The International Bill of Rights, Humanity's Agreement to Live Together. So, Kirk, as I know...
Absolutely. Please.
Well,
I go by my middle name for a reason. You, Becky, in particular.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the podcast. I'm excited to talk with you about your project. It goes much beyond the audiobook itself or the book. It's just so much bigger. So, first of all, just welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you. And I'm really glad to be here. And I'm glad that we've had conversations before this about things. And I especially appreciate the depth of your mind, just like the depth of your resume. I'm glad to have actually know you in a few of those different aspects. And so here we are. And I'm glad to have this conversation with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So your website, I actually wanted to start there because it feels like it is central to a lot of the work that you're doing. Tell us a little bit about uniteforrights.org.
Okay, I'd be glad to. And you're quite correct. The website is the core of our work. And for anybody listening or reading the book, it's something to have in parallel with the book. And it's designed that way. And that's why the book is also on the homepage for the website, and someone can go through that with the flip book and see that. But also, there are ways to interact that we'll be talking about, whether you get on the spinning globe there or you contribute your comments, so that it's a very participatory website.
Yeah. So pause for just a moment and tell people about the spinning globe on the website, because they won't know what you're referring to, and I would love for them to get a sense, because I think it's a really cool experience. Yeah.
Well, sure, I'd be glad to do that. And we have a very cool information or technology specialist who created this. And he did it in creation with AI, just talking with Claude. And they came up with this idea that people can join together in a collaboration to show their support for an international Bill of Rights. Because as you know, we really are continuing the work of Eleanor, Roosevelt, and René, Cassin, John Humphrey, these people that after World War II wanted to have a plan for humanity. So that globe, it shows a willingness to participate in this plan, which is to develop a international judicial architecture for enforceable rights in all countries. That's what they were doing. That's what we're continuing. Yeah. So on the globe, if they go and they click on the website where it says add your signature there, all they're doing is they're saying, I like the idea of continuing this plan. I like the fact that we should all have rights. And I'm willing to show my support for it by putting my name and my country, and then whatever country they're in, a spark of light goes off on that globe, as it did for you. And I appreciate doing that.
Yeah.
So that's what that's about. It's a way for people to join and collaborate together and participate.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you to this point where you had this inspiration to move forward with this project.
Well, my background is that I'm a civil rights and environmental lawyer. And so I've done a lot of civil rights cases representing all sorts of women that have been discriminated against, and also people of different backgrounds and excessive force by police and that sort of thing. I've also had a number of free speech cases that have gone all the way up. I've argued in the U.S. Supreme Court, so I've always been very practical in the sense of making the most of the law that we have for civil rights. Okay. This part, when you ask about the inspiration, I went to Berkeley for law school. The dean at the law school is a man named Frank Newman, and he was one of the foremost authorities in the field of international human rights, which was really quite a compliment that the dean would have that background. And so I worked with him, and then I go back many years. And so after that, I was working on the Russian Constitution at the time of the dissolution of the Soviet Union. I was there for 6 months,
Oh, wow.
actually working on the new Russian Constitution and on the Bill of Rights. It's always been my specialty, is that particular piece. And so this dean, when I came back, said, "Look, you should come back. You should work with me. You should get an advanced law degree." And he was really a catalyst. His name's Frank Newman, wonderful man and scholar. I agreed. I did that. And then he passed while I was in the midst of that. In law, to get a doctorate, you can get a doctorate in law the same as you do in physics or psychology, but it takes 3 law degrees. So I was in the midst of the second one,
Wow.
and he passed, and another great professor there, David Caron, he brought me under his wing. He knew Frank well. And so I went on and I got the doctorate. And for the doctorate, I wrote an international Bill of Rights. I actually took that Russia work and extrapolated it into something that could work in all countries, because that was the post-World War II plan. And so
Yeah.
that's how this all came to be. It's a pursuit of genuine interest and doors opening with great people.
My head is spinning with questions about some of those experiences, but let's move to the point at which you started to write down, or either to write down the Bill of Rights as this current International Bill of Rights, or if it already existed and you have built around it. Tell us a little bit more about how this is coming together, how it has pieced together.
I'm glad to. I'm glad to, because when I hold up this book and people see the book, and it's only 60 pages, so it's a very easy read, and this is intentional. But it was for the doctorate. I was in the Smithsonian, and there was a Canadian named John Humphrey, who was the person who gathered up all of the various pieces for an international Bill of Rights after World War II. And so thank you for asking the question, because I want to make sure that everyone understands that this book is not an epiphany. The document is not an epiphany.
Right.
This is a continuation. And I sat there and I read on microfiche what John Humphrey, the Canadian, worked on with Eleanor, and René Cassin, fantastic lawyer in France. And this is a extension of what they did.
Beautiful. Yeah.
That's why in this book it says, and this is open to anyone who listens to this, and it not in a braggadocious way, but in a way of inquiry. If anyone knows a better plan, we offer 1,000 euros to anyone with a better plan for humanity than the plan in this book. And I say that having already prefaced it with, this is not my plan. I didn't write it.
Right.
I have helped refine it over the last 17 years with people from around the world, including Frank Newman. But it's an extension.
So it's really a part of history, as well as history that is evolving even now, it sounds like.
That's exactly right. There's a part of it, it says one of the chapters in here is looking back to find our way forward. That was from David Caron, a quote from him, and that's exactly what we're doing. And that's what it's the best. We're storytellers.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yes.
You tell stories all the time. And
That's
so this is humans, it's our greatest quality. And what separates us is that we can read and write.
yeah.
No other species can read and write. So no other species can tell stories the way that we can tell stories.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's what this is all about. And that's is just the using the best of the qualities that we've been fortunate to be given to extend the storyline.
Yeah. So the it just feels so increasingly urgent having a Bill of Rights that we can all, as a global community, can agree on, can come together around, and hopefully to abide by.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And indeed it is. And this is an important point to clarify that it's underway, Becky.
Yeah.
For any listeners out there, this is underway. In the same way that it's not an epiphany, it's not a fresh start either. It's an extension. The European Court of Human Rights is quite miraculous. There's a picture of the court in this book, and I've been in there several times, and the judges come in from 47 countries, and they're all wearing the same robes. And there'll be someone, and she'll stand up from Portugal, and she'll be waving the European Convention. It's a Bill of Rights. And the next person, he'll be from Norway, and he'll be waving the same. It works. René Cassin, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize because of the work that he did with Eleanor on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which they said was an international Bill of Rights, by the way. That's what they called it. Same with Port Humphrey. That's what they were doing. And so it works, is what he said when he stood up there and accepted the Nobel Peace Prize, because he not only did he help write that Universal Declaration, but then he became the first chief judge in the European Court of Human Rights.
Yeah.
And so that is the extension. That's the progress that's underway. And you're right about the timing, because there's this constant flux with humanity between moving in that direction where we actually have rights that are enforceable in court, where you can stand there and you can talk to a judge and you can ask her for an order. It's that moment. Unite for Rights is about that moment.
Yeah.
Unite for Rights is not about the moment of talking about how nice it would be if we could all have these rights.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, and this is it's an error that I think has permeated human rights discourse, is for people to think if we talk about our rights enough, somehow we have them.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay.
What we find
And
is that we may be talking about them, but they're not being enforced. And that is like the difference between having rights and not, really.
that is the difference. That key moment when you get that order, when you stand up in court and you get a decision, and then the government has to follow that decision. I've just had a couple of cases in the European Court of Human Rights. One was in Poland, where the Minister of Justice had gone off the rails and was attacking the judiciary, ignoring the Polish Constitution, and refusing to follow the law of the European Convention. And in that courtroom in Poland, I heard a judge tell him that he must follow the European law, and ultimately Poland did, because they threatened to fine him €1 million a month if they didn't.
That's what we need.
Yeah, it worked. Cassin was right when he said that it
That's
worked.
great. Yeah, that's beautiful. So now you're at this this point in the journey where some new things are coming into the mix, being added to the journey, like the globe, that lights up online. So we have some new technological things that are available. Tell us a little bit about this, maybe the technological side of this journey, and what's coming into play more recently.
I'd be glad to, because it's really an exciting time for this too. And so for the listener that or the reader, there are two pieces of participation. One, to get on the globe. It takes a minute, truly. The other is that on the website, you'll see that we call it drafting through dialogue. And you couldn't draft an international Bill of Rights with just some person or some small group. It would never work. And you would never have sufficient buy-in to have it become the social contract, which it truly is. So we're using the latest technology, and we have a great technology specialist that spearheads this with others. It's called Drafting Through Dialogue, and when someone clicks on that on the website, then you can go in and you can make a comment about any of the articles. So this book, it has the articles, and I'm glad this interview's at the tail of the book. I read the book as the author, and I'm very pleased that people can listen to the actual draft document of an International Bill of Rights.
Yeah.
But I'm equally pleased that people can go onto the website and they can say, I like this article with respect to education or free speech or representation, whatever it is, and make their own comment. I was thinking about this, it just in prep, with Picasso, if he was painting and you went in and you said, hey, Pablo, a little bit more green over there, right?
Yeah.
One, he probably would have said, I'll do this, right? And that's right, because there's some genius that is well suited to one person.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
This isn't it.
Yeah.
The genius here is this is better suited to widespread participation. So that's the second piece of what we're doing is this drafting through dialogue. We really hope that people will come and comment and contribute their thoughts.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Let's just take a short pause, and then we're going to come right back and talk more about the audiobook version of International Bill of Rights. We'll be right back. Okay, let's get real. Sadly, most authors struggle to reach their full audience and find it almost impossible to earn back their investment in audiobooks. Why? Because standard retailers pay such low royalties and give authors no control or marketing tools. But Amplify Audiobooks is changing the equation. You earn about triple the royalties compared to standard retailers, and that adds up fast. You have complete control over pricing, access to who your customers are so you can connect with them, mapped out and gamified marketing quests so you always know what's next on your marketing journey. And it's fun. A host of built-in marketing tools to help you reach more people, and a community that's excited to discover and support new voices. All so you can become the successful author you've always dreamed of. So stop whispering into the void and start building real momentum. Amplify Audiobooks, because books should bring us together in ways that help us all thrive. AmplifyAudiobooks.com. All right, so when you and I first connected about the book aspect of this project, and you told me you wanted to narrate it yourself, let's talk about what that experience was and has been for you. And I believe we set you up with home studio, but you fill us in on all the details for our listeners.
I'd be glad to. I didn't have the home studio, and I'm glad that I didn't, and I would recommend, if possible, that people go into a professional studio, because part of the remarkable experience is I got to sit in the same chair that just a few weeks before Carlos Santana had been sitting in. Okay. And I've been to so many Santana concerts over the years. That was wonderful. And there many authors have sat in that chair too. And so it was so professionally well done. And it's just a really great feeling to have this kind of an interaction. And the engineer was terrific. So any little mishap could easily be fixed, as I'm hoping that my mishaps here will be fixed too. And it was just a remarkable experience. I think this adds a whole new dimension to books. I've already been encouraging people to work with Amplify and to develop an audiobook along with their print and their ebook. I think that it's really a triad now. If you want to reach people, if you want to get into the marketplace of ideas, you've got the triad.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the as we prepared for the process, the manuscript preparation, there were a lot of different. You have visuals, and there are other different components. So yours was kind of an interesting project from the manuscript preparation. Uh, Tell us a little bit about anything that you may have learned in that process, or that you found that kind of sort of stood out to you about decisions that were being made and that you were making around the conversion of the text into audio.
Well, what's so good about that, the combination of the images along with the audio, is I'm going to hold up one of them here because we're also using video. But I think people can see that image of that's the European Court of Human Rights. It's a remarkable court. And it's built on transparency, so it's all glass and steel. And the judges, I mentioned, they come in from 47 countries. And so to be able to talk about these various images, or the image of Eleanor, this really famous one that everyone knows and identifies with. She's beloved, including husband half my career carrying on her work, right?
Yeah.
So to be able to have these images is really a positive, complementary thing to do. And you're able to do that, and
Right.
really glad to have that combination of things.
How was that for you? Did you find it challenging at all, or was there anything about it that you'd like to share, especially for anyone who's listening who might be an author considering narrating their own?
I'd encourage them to do it. I'd encourage them to practice because beforehand, but also to rest assured that with the new technology, that when you make a mistake and there's a hiccup, you've said, with a good engineer like I had, they can jump right back, and then you get led right up to that moment, and you can hear it, and you can correct it, and so the whole thing is very enjoyable. I would go so far as to say it was enjoyable.
Good. Yeah. That's what we call punch and roll, is that process.
Punch and roll.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Great. So one of the things that you've shared with me is, and you touched on it earlier, is how AI has been in some ways a collaborator on this project. So I would love to hear, because AI is one of those hot topics, but also there's a lot of like both the push and the pull of, is it good? Is it bad? Is it, it has its place. It doesn't have, there's so much fevered discussion around AI. I would love to hear how you and your team are collaborating with AI on this project, and how that's working out for you.
Well, we're in the same vein as Tim Berners-Lee, the founder of the web, and really a brilliant and thoughtful person, has been for these 30 some odd years. And so what it's not it there is a lot of controversy, but the question is, one of the things that he says so well is that there's a term he's used over and over, which is garbage in, garbage out. And unfortunately, we're giving AI, in order to load up as much data as possible, we're just scraping the internet, which is full of garbage, and giving it to AI, hoping that something good is going to come of it. And the real danger is that garbage is going to come out. And to me, in my own personal thinking, since perhaps because I have two wonderful sons, and a wonderful daughter-in-law with a granddaughter. I'll toss that in too, because it is about future generations. Actually, you're asking me why I do this. It's just as much about future generations as anything.
Yeah.
But I also think that with AI, it's a question of how we interact. It is indeed a collaboration. When I talk with AI, I have done this talking with professors. I've been in Geneva for 17 years straight. I've talked with a lot of the foremost constitutional thinkers in many countries. So this is the same thing. It's a question of what words should go in and what words should be taken out. And you can look at every article, and I'll spare you going into the language, but each one is very carefully constructed so that René Cassin's famous words, "It works," is true, that you can have it. They needs to be designed carefully so that it works when it's in the courtroom with orders. And so with AI, the important thing here is that we're actually engaging in a positive collaborative effort to do something that benefits humanity.
Yeah.
And I happen to believe, and none of us know this, when AI is going to make this generative leap. Look, Becky, 3 days ago, we have an office on Mission and 6th and Mission. I was in there talking with people about how I want AI to exercise its memory. If I'm having a conversation with you about a right to education, I can 2 weeks later, and we'll pick up that thread and continue that. A week ago, Claude developed that capability. Or all the geniuses working with Claude, right? But it can think, it can remember now. Think of the significance of that. I can talk to Claude about how many countries have free speech written in their bills of rights, or bills of rights in over 160 countries, including Russia, where I helped to write that one. The problem is that they're not being enforced
Right.
in a lot of places. We still have our struggles here over the Bill of Rights. And that's why, because democracy does not work without a Bill of Rights. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Because you get tyranny of the majority.
Right.
And you get people that can just seize control and do what they want. You got to have an independent judiciary and a Bill of Rights. And so with AI, I'm sorry this is a longer answer, but it is a deeper and an important one. I think with AI, at best, we're going to actually get it to engage with us to come up with the best possible, the optimum Bill of Rights for humanity. And without having it dictated to us, but having it collaborate with us.
Okay. So if I understand what you're saying is that that the collaboration involves that part of that information you're putting in is already bills of rights that exist. And then what? Are you then asking it for improvements, or do you ask it about specific areas, or tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, great inquiry. That's why the book is so important. The book actually contains, and because you've seen it, Becky, I know if it contains, this is the actual Bill of Rights document, all the articles in the document. So it causes the discussion to focus down on the particular words, not just aspirations.
Right.
People talk about human rights all the time aspirationally, but when you're talking about it practically, how it will actually function, then that's the beauty of this book. That's why it's small and it's a discussion piece. It's a dialogue piece as much as anything.
Yeah.
Because then what you do is you get better and better refinement. That's what you're seeking. You're seeking refinement.
I can imagine, I'm starting to imagine the, groups of, like, community groups coming together to discuss the International Bill of Rights, to each one, point by point, to
And,
discuss them and
and,
what they mean.
and it can be that what's emerging, it's precisely what you've said. It can be the beauty of Eleanor Roosevelt was one of the great leaders of the 20th century.
Yeah.
It's just, and she still is respected as such, deservingly. And there are a lot of people who want to continue her work. At the same time, there are a lot of people who actually long right now for AI to do something positive. They do, and they're quite genuine about it. And so they can come to this for that reason, right? There are different reasons.
Yeah.
Any parent could look at their child and feel like, wait a minute, our planet is being despoiled.
Right.
And until we have something like this, where rights are enforceable around the world, we're never going to get beyond the global warming.
Right. Yeah.
Just won't.
Yeah.
Without court orders and ways to enforce them, we'll ruin this planet before we can save it. Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like there is a long journey yet ahead of awareness and of just largely that, I guess, awareness, adoption, acceptance, participation. What are some ways that people might who are inspired to participate? What are some ways that they might be able to help Unite for Rights get this out into the world in a bigger way, to really significantly, fuel the impact that you're trying to have in
But
basically saving the world?
I don't believe that we're saving the world. I don't even believe that when people say that, oh, he's saving the world or they're saving the world, that they're correct.
Mm.
What I believe is that the change, or someone says, well, you change the world. No, the change of the world is already afoot.
Mm.
It's underway. You see it now with Orban being dispatched.
Yes.
And you see it in all around the younger generations. It's so exciting to work with the younger generations. And most of the work that's being done, like Neil, that I've been telling you about, his brilliance, it's from those younger generations.
Yeah.
So the thing is this, when you look at our logo here right behind me,
Yeah.
this is a registered trademark. And the first thing people can do is think about being part of a linkage like this, being willing to go on to the globe and take that 30 seconds and just be a part. That's the first thing.
Mhm.
Or make a comment. But also, it's a question at this point about what's the triggering moment? Like, you got on the globe. Why did you do that? I'm answering your questions. Let me ask you,
Yeah, why
if
don't
I might, why did you get on the globe?
Because I feel like it's a really I want so desperately for my own kids and grandkids, largely, as well as myself and my friends, and I want this world to become even better than it than it is right now. I mean, always there's like always, how can we experience life more fully? How can we be kinder to each other? How can we live in harmony? These are all things that are really important to me. So
Yeah.
I was felt
Yeah.
aligned with this, and so I got on there to say yes in a public way.
And thank you for answering that. That's really that. It made me think of the author Malcolm Gladwell, who ended one of his books by saying, "The world that we could have is so much richer than the one that we've settled for."
Yeah.
And so this is the process piece, Becky, for the things you just described that we want. It's only the beginning, and I know as a lawyer arguing in all these various levels of cases that even when you have the document, then you have to go in, it's a whole nother step, but unless you have that first ability, you can't get to that second,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I would hope that the people will participate in those two elements. The other way, and to answer to your question, is that I'm hopeful too that there are some who have the financial means to say, hey, these young people in particular, they need to be given the financial resources to go out and gather up all the technology that we need to be able to do this. So, Unite for Rights is a fledgling organization. We've been in existence since January of 2026, and we very much are still in a growth pattern. And so, any funding it's on our website, right? And we're part of the Tides Foundation, which is something this has just come about, and I'm really thrilled with this. They're a huge organization that they nurture younger nonprofits, but particularly in the human rights field. And so all of the contributions go through Tides with all their bookkeeping and all of the tax. Everything's worked out very meticulously. So
Yeah,
that's another way that people could participate, and I hope they'll think about that.
great. Well, Kirk, I want to thank you so much. I feel like I definitely want to have you back on the podcast, maybe like in a year. I want to hear about the progress and where things are at that point. But let's wrap it up for today. So for our guests, again, this is Dr. John Kirk Boyd, the facilitator of the International Bill of Rights. And I want to make sure that you've got uniteforrights.org. That is all written out in letters, not numerals. So uniteforrights.org. And the audiobook edition is available, or at the time of this, that you're listening to this, the audiobook edition will be available on amplifyaudiobooks.com. So, Kirk, thank you so much for being here.
And in the last piece, in addition, is that the books too. So this book's available both on Kindle and on Apple Books for free. So they can download it and they can follow along with the actual book, in addition to the way that they can follow along with Amplified. So thank you very much for this wonderful exchange. It's part of the invigorating part of all of this, is to be able to have a conversation such as this and to share it with others. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. And to our listeners, we'll catch you at the next episode of Audiobook Connection. Thanks for being with us today. Now, we started a new thing for the end of each podcast episode where I'm going to share with you a retail sample from a title on Amplify Audiobooks.
This audiobook, including the International Bill of Rights and the map at uniteforrights.org that shows the courts to enforce it, is the best plan for humanity ever written. If you have a better secular plan you have written or read from any time in the history of humanity, submit that plan in writing for a €1,000 reward. As happens from time to time, humanity is at a crossroads. We can either proceed on the path we are on, with war and authoritarians running most countries, and our environment on the decline, or we can emerge into a healthy international community with an agreement to live together based upon an International Bill of Rights and the rule of law. This book is a plan for humanity, an International Bill of Rights that is enforceable in the courts of all countries, including regional courts and an International Court of Human Rights. This plan is well underway with the creation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, in 1948, and the establishment of regional courts on 3 continents since 1950. Today, these regional courts protect the rights of more than half the people on Earth. See the map at uniteforrights.org. The real question is, what will you do? Will you act to create the world you want, or just regret that you do not have it? You do matter. As Albert Einstein said, the problems of the world do not exist because of the evil people, but because of the good people who do nothing about them. Do something. Listen on. You can act in 1 minute and join with others internationally. We can use our new technologies and collectively implement this plan. The key is for each person, nonprofit, business, and government, all represented by the Unite logo, to participate in a collaborative way. Each of us wants a better life for ourselves and our children. With Unite for Rights, you can make this happen.
And for everyone out there, keep listening, because books should bring us together in ways that help us all thrive. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for joining me on Audiobook Connection. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and share it with a fellow book lover or author. Until next time, keep listening, keep creating, and keep connecting.